yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Join with us. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Nice guitar playing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We are so glad that you are all here with us as we welcome Shabbat together. My name is Cantor Vladimir Lapin, and I'm happy to be sharing the bima tonight with our Rabbi Josh Caruso. I invite us all to take a deep breath for Shabbat. Tonight, as we begin our services, I want to share a short story with you by Rabbi Harold Kushner. Rabbi Kushner writes, I was sitting on a beach one summer day, watching two children playing in the sand. They were hard at work building an elaborate sand castle by the water's edge, with gates and towers and moats and internal passages. Just when they had nearly finished their project, a big wave came along and knocked it down, reducing it to a heap of wet sand. I expected the children to burst into tears, devastated by what had happened to their work. But they surprised me. Instead, they ran up the shore, away from the water, laughing and holding hands, and sat down to build another castle. He writes, continues, I realized that they had taught me an important lesson. All the things in our lives, all the complicated structures we spend so much time and energy creating are built on sand. It's only our relationships that endure. Sooner or later, the wave will come along and knock down what we have worked so hard to build up. And when that happens, only the person who has somebody's hand to hold will be able to laugh. What a powerful sentiment. I don't know about you, but this has been quite a long and challenging week for me personally. Yet the story made me pause and helped me reflect on what is most important in life. And so as we enter Shabbat as a community, I want to encourage each of us to hold in our minds someone whom we cherish, someone whose hands brings us comfort. And then think of someone who cherishes us. Shabbat is a time when we remember the importance of our relationships and offer gratitude for the ones that we hold dear, for those who can hold our hands, those who bring us laughter, those who bring us comfort. And these are our blessings, and Shabbat gives us a chance to reflect upon them and share our gratitude. And so now we welcome the presence of Shabbat as we light the candles and bring more light into this world. I invite you to join us on page 2 as we light the candles together. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Feels good to light the candles, to usher in the Sabbath. We continue with Lecha Dodi on page 20 and 21.
לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה
Rise,
פני שבת
face the entrance, and welcome the Sabbath bride.
נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
We invite you to remain standing as we turn to the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, page 28.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Continue now on page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. We continue with V'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Continue on the top of page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together. Page 40, Michamocha.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקעם לפני משה ומרים, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקעם לפני משה ומרים, זה לי, אנו Adonai imloch leolam leolam vaed. Please join with us on ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts, eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Continue with Hashkivenu on top of 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim, lechayim, lechayim.
Shabbat Shalom. It's amazing what that greeting can do. I grew up in New York City where Shabbat Shalom was a regular thing. You're in the street, you see somebody, they see you, Shabbat Shalom. Maybe they're Jewish, maybe they're not. They wish it was Shabbat Shalom. There's something about the greeting and the reciprocity of that greeting that creates a sense of connection and recognition of who we are, our faith, carrying on the importance of the Sabbath. I've thought a lot about Shabbat Shalom, but never thought about it, this saying, this thing that we do. When I was reading the book Kosher Soul by the author Michael Twitty, who joined us just last week, Michael Twitty tells a story about Michael Twitty, a Jew of color, tells a story about people not always recognizing that he was Jewish, acknowledging his Jewishness. Just by appearance, they thought, maybe he's not Jewish. He talks about walking around and saying to a Jew who he can recognize as a Jew, he says Shabbat Shalom. Now, if they felt his Jewishness, or they felt his connection to his Jewishness, they would say Shabbat Shalom back. But there were times when it was very hurtful to him because he would say Shabbat Shalom, and someone, not thinking that that was important to him, that maybe he was Jewish or he was connected to a Judaism in some way, they would say, thank you. He'd say Shabbat Shalom, and they'd say, same to you. It wasn't the same as the reciprocity of Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom was an affirmation. So last week, I made sure after reading that chapter to say to Michael Twitty, Shabbat Shalom, Baruch haba. I see you. I see you. That exchange of Shabbat Shalom, whether it's Jew to Jew or Jew who's adjacent to Jew, there's something really powerful about that acknowledgement, that recognition, May you have a Sabbath of peace. May you have a Sabbath of peace. Something very powerful about that. Perhaps just exchanging those words helps maintain the continuity of Shabbat each week. Vishamru is lifting up one of our prayers that talks about that continuity, keeping that flame going. Wishing each other Shabbat Shalom is just one way of maintaining that flame. So we continue now with Vishamru, page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Continue now with our tefillah, beginning on page 46. We invite you to rise once again as you are able.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We pause for a few moments of silent prayer. You may be seated.
page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. אתה ומלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Shabbat Shalom. In this week's Torah portion, we read about the first 7 plagues issued by God through the work of Moses' hands and Aaron's words. The portion is evocative of the Passover Seder, as we bear witness to the Nile River turning to blood, Egypt swarming with frogs, when dust turns to lice, the invasion of swarming insects, animals stricken with pests, soot that brings about boils, and a destructive raining down of hail. Sounds worse than a Cleveland winter. It is sobering to learn just how many times the Pharaoh hardens his heart. Even more disturbing is how the text teaches that God's self, acts intentionally to harden Pharaoh's heart, which intuitively makes little sense. By doing so, the Holy One prolongs the enslavement of God's people. There is much written about this in Jewish literature, defending why God would delay the redemption of the Hebrews by insisting on doubling down on Pharaoh's stubbornness. The text says, "And God hardened Pharaoh's heart." Many commentators suggest that Pharaoh was weakening after each and every plague was executed. In fact, they say that he would have eventually folded himself and said, "Moses, please, go, take them. I'll let your people go." So why would God do this? Why harden Pharaoh's heart at all? Why interfere with the mechanics of Pharaoh's feelings? Why does God harden Pharaoh's heart? Our sages assert that it was only after Pharaoh had hardened his own heart first that God did the hardening. And that is true. No less than 5 times did Pharaoh make his heart less and less supple and soft, as Rabbi Danya Rutenberg teaches. This is God saying to Pharaoh, "Well, you have sealed your own fate I'm just finishing the job. The great sages suggest that there was an additional benefit. Any Hebrews who may have been leery of God's ability to effect their escape would witness God's power even in the face of Pharaoh's resistance. Look at that. Pharaoh's heart was hardened even more. And the Hebrews might have thought, oh boy. And even then, God was able to redeem us. Still, it feels unnecessary and punitive for God to mete out such a punishment. Friends, it's hard to know what inspired this tactic, but this may be a good reminder to try and unearth the deeper lessons within. Maybe the origin of Pharaoh's hard-heartedness is demonstrative of some of the very same qualities we carry with us thousands of years after the Exodus from Egypt. When one turns away from others' pain, it is a hardening of the heart. When we fail to see one another as a human sibling, one hardens their heart. And the more we stiffen our hearts, the more we push away compassion and understanding. We may even internally conspire with our psyches to create a narrative as to why we don't need to show compassion to this person at all, to that individual. In so doing, we let ourselves off the hook of having to practice compassion. We humans are very talented at reconciling our thoughts, words, and behaviors to fit a convenient story that we have crafted, a reason why we shouldn't reach out or care about that individual. It's such a human thing to do, to pick and choose who we want to show compassion to. I'd like to think that as seductive as a hardened heart can be, we also have the ability to open up the heart, to soften it in the face of another's pain and in the presence of our own hurts. Psalm 51:12 features a well-known verse ascribed to King David. It says, and by the way, at this moment, King David is in great distress. He turns to God and he says, Lev tahor, a pure heart, barali. A pure heart, create for me, God, and a firm spirit, renew within me. The Hebrew word for create, bara, in this verse signals the imperative, meaning create. Here, King David is being prescriptive towards God. It's a lot of chutzpah, right? Practically demanding that God place a pure heart within him. Barali, lev tahor. Read this way, King David views himself absent of a pure heart, asking God to put it within him. Rabbi Jonathan Slater points out that if we simply change one vowel in the word bara, it can be read as bara. That indicates past tense, meaning that the pure heart we so desire has actually already been created within us. It's already there. What if it said, Lev tahor barali, a pure heart, it was already created for me. This teaching by Rabbi Slater, so simple, reminds us that the pure heart we are seeking is already present within us. It has already been created for us. In this way, we can turn our hearts within. It's a reminder that our search for kindness and compassion towards others, towards ourselves, it's always been there. Lev tahor barali, a pure heart has been created for me. Here's what I'm saying. Each one of us, each one of you, has a pure heart. How hard is that to say, though? How hard is that to feel? It sounds like hubris to say, oh, I have a pure heart. But having a pure heart within means practicing compassion and love for the person we visit in the mirror each and every day, which would be you and me. Perhaps by acknowledging that we each have a pure heart, we then challenge ourselves to be our higher selves. And maybe that's why we push it away. We want to abdicate that responsibility to feel pure-hearted about ourselves and about others. To be honest, sometimes in a heated moment, an insecurity or feelings of vulnerability lead me towards a hardening of my heart. If I don't keep those feelings in check, my heart continues to stiffen. But in quieter times, I like to remind myself that a pure heart was indeed created for me. Lev tahor bara li. It's up to me to activate it. And the same is true for each of us. So let's return to our story. I know, confusing to talk about the Exodus story when Passover seems very far away. We haven't even reached Tu B'Shvat yet. But let's return to that story. Let's remind ourselves of that feeling we have when we're sitting around the Seder table. We get to that part in the Haggadah of the 10 plagues. All right, you can all do the movement. We take the finger, we place it in the cup, we take a little drop, and we place it on the plate. It's clear that the sages were challenged by God's hardline approach, hardening Pharaoh's heart. During the Passover Seder, we remove a drop of wine for every plague we announce as a way of recognizing the humanity in our greatest enemy. Dam, blood. Tzfardea, frogs, and so on. We deplete the wine inside our cup, which is supposed to lessen our joy a bit. The practice is a reminder that even in celebration of our greatest triumphs, we should never surrender our humanity, our pure heart. That's the challenge, folks, in the heatest of moments. How do we remember the pure heart and be gracious and understanding to someone who challenges us, maybe is even difficult to us? So, on Sunday, I will board a flight to Los Angeles as part of the most recent cohort of the Clergy Leadership Program with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. I follow in the footsteps of Rabbi Nozenchuk, Cantor Laureate Sager, and Cantor Lappin, who previously attended the Institute's retreats. It is there where I'll be learning, praying, working to cultivate a pure heart. It is in this experience that I hope to bring back practices and insights that'll help me better serve you, this congregation, with a pure heart, to acknowledge that it's in me, just as I'll challenge you to acknowledge that it's in you. More to come, but I look forward to sharing my learnings with you and continuing the journey together. Amen. We're going to continue now with Tfilat Mishaberach, our prayer for healing. You can find it in your prayer books on page 253. I'd like to share the names of individuals who we're thinking of at this time who are in need of healing. Sasha Aber, Jerry Edelstein, Ro Allen, Kristen Barnes, Ruth Berger, Rosalind Brooker, Ellen Brooks, Jerry Chalfin, Amy Cohen, Linda Craig, Josh Daniel Poor, Ella Dubrow, George Fendel, Dr. Michael Foreman, Elliot Franklin, Mary Freeman, Sandy Friedman, Anna Greenfield, Ashley Marino, Jennifer Russell McGee, Scott Miller, Barbara Misney, Olivia Nafa, our Rabbi Robert A. Nosenchuk, Carol Plank, Jewel Price, Gail Ray, Jamie Raskin, Dr. Luke Reeder, Bernice Reef, Lauren Retting, Joseph Rocchio, Gloria Rogan, Gordon Safran, David Schlein, Stephen Schlein, Alan Schwartz, Kara Greenwalt, David Goldfein, Rafi Hami, Dr. Richard Harlan, Stephen Heller, Eric Hibbett, Rebecca Jacobson, Ethan Kadish, Sheldon Caffin, Linda Kahn, Ruth Kalin, Patricia Kipstool, Dr. Louis Klein, Marla Lakin, Maya Lappin, Tommy Lefkowitz, Charlie Lewis, Kennedy Linston, Suzanne Luria, Bob Schwartz, Mona Senkfor, Steve Shacknow, Linda Snyderman, Estelle Slutsky, Barbara Steinfurst, Liviana Brieselzer, Brenda Tinker, Misha Zeitlin, Angel Wissner, Richard Wilson, Isabel Wolf, Eliza Bat Yitzchak Chaim HaKohen Vezelda Jenny, Kayla Bat Pesach Miriam, Mordechai Ben Henia, Meryl Bat Yekutiel Virochel, Chaim Ben Chana. We also want to take this time, acknowledge if you're thinking of someone who is in need of healing. We want to hear those names if you wish to share them out loud or just share them in your heart. If you're joining us by live stream, you can share those names in the comments.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
From prayers of healing to blessings of joy, we take this time. We want to acknowledge those in our community who are celebrating milestone birthdays, anniversaries. We'd like to acknowledge Fran and Chad de Bardot, Cheryl and Norm Guttmacher, Pat and Norm Singer, and Ruth and Jerry Domsick. You can stand at your seats. We want to acknowledge you. Mazel tov. All right. Fran and Chad, how many years? 63. Really? Right. So that limits the amount of arguments you need to have if you can't hear each other so well. So thank you. That you just answered the question you
It's
usually ask.
amazing. It's amazing.
All right. Cheryl and Norm, how many years? 51. Mazel tov. I'm going to ask Cantor Lappin's question. What's the secret? Okay. Just being agreeable. Okay, being agreeable. I'd say it goes at both ends. All right. Good. I'm Pat and Norm. 64. Wow. Okay. Any special recipe? You let her answer? Okay. All right. There seems to be like a lot of deference being shown to the other. All right. Ruth and Jerry, how many years? 63. Wow.
Amazing.
This is unbelievable. All right. Guttmachers, you got a lot of work to do. I mean, you're just at 51. Secrets? Okay, geez. Okay, that's just
gonna write
listen
it
to
down.
each other, listen to each other. I would say this happens like we are workmates, but this is a kind of marriage. I mean, we got to do the same thing, you know? So, you know, people could ask us what our secret is.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. What? Okay. Anyway. Okay. Is there anybody else who's celebrating a milestone? We want to acknowledge you too. Well, mazel tov to our anniversary couples. We're so glad you chose tonight to allow us to celebrate you, and we want to share the special blessing.
Please join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen. Blessed are you, God, sovereign of the universe. You give us life. You lift us up. You bring us to these extraordinary moments. And it's so important to mark them each time, each year. We're blessed to carry on these relationships with each other, and we're blessed to be able to witness them in our midst. We're going to invite you to remain standing and invite everybody to rise for Aleinu L'Shabeach, bottom of 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
May be seated. I invite you now to turn to page 292 on the top. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear. But if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. Let's read together. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep them silent in their presence, and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as, in their higher moments, they themselves wish to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. We remember those who have died in the last 30 days in the period of Shiva, the period of Shloshim. We remember Judge Cheryl Carner, Hy Eisenberg, Claire Beal, James Glazer, Moore Levan, Jonathan Heitner, Francis Washington. And we remember those who died at this season in years past in the period of Yahrzeit. We remember Celia Abrams, Jeanette K. Edelstein, Max Adler, Lottie Anthony, Anthony Babin, Lillian Bialowski, Ray Bender, Florence Berger, Sheila Madvid Berman, Ethel Quint Kahn, Dora Chester, Jacob Cohen, Elizabeth Boxenbaum Cole, Louis R. Craig, Sarah Davidson, Victor N. Eichler, Bill Feldman, Iris Fishman, Ida F. Frankel, Charles Gelb, Jacob Geller, Lois Ehrlich Glick, Suzanne Gold, Maurice E. Golden, Evelyn B. Greenhut, Herbert A. Greenwald, Leo Grossman, Evelyn K. Gutfeld, Morris Harold Gutmacher, Ruth N. Gutmacher, Augusta Halley, Samuel Hershick, Howard Z. Herzig, Phyllis R. Honig, Sarah B. Hoffman, Phyllis S. Ianni, Jerome H. Cab, Dr. Michael I. Candell, Louis J. Kaplan, Edward Cater, Louise Sherman Katz, Amy S. Klein, Louis Klein, Soretta Miller Kleinerman, Charles Z. Lawrence, Carrie M. Less, David S. Levine, Evelyn Wolkoff Lewin, Irene Lewis, Martin Lipman, Lieutenant Donald Loveman, Aaron Marshall, Anna Miller, Emma S. Miller, Rachel Miller, Josiah S. Mishny, Lillian R. Newman, Max W. Newman, Michael Nosenchuk, Geraldine F. Nutkin, Goldie K. Osher, Herbert Rich, Sally Shagrin Rich, Stella E. Rickman, Nancy Goldman Rose, Sydney Rosenblum, Lillian Stein Rosenfeld, Clarence M. Roscoff, Leon M. Roscoff, Sam J. Rudner, David Schulhoff, Dr. Milton L. Selker, Sadie R. Selman, Manuel C. Shapiro, Albert Schneider, Michael Siegel, Sonny Sadie Sill, Paul M. Spitz, Evelyn Sugarman, Charles Victor Wakefield, Nathan M. Wallach, Rhea S. Weinstein, Alvin A. Weitzman, Helen Wolf, Marcella Yadid, Julia Sellner, Vera Zipkin, Philip Zipser, Betty Zucker, Sandra Zuckerman, Herbert Zweig. We also remember Ann Carroll, mother of our member Matt Carroll, who will be buried this coming week. We send our loving thoughts to the family as they begin this period of mourning themselves. We want to take this time now and acknowledge you, if you are mourning tonight, a loved one who died in the period of Shiva, Shloshim, in the period of Yahrzeit, who have passed this in this past yearly cycle. We invite you to rise at your seat so we can know you in your grief. And now we invite the community to join with our mourners as we continue with the recitation of the Kaddish Praise, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye chon uvyomei chon. Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei omayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah.
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved among us, we say together. Amen.
Amen.
May be seated. We want to take this moment and share a few announcements before we turn to the conclusion of our service. We want to, as always, thank our greeters and our ushers tonight. We want to thank Barbara Smith, who is on staff tonight. We appreciate you all. Send our good wishes to David Gooding. And I thank our Cantor Lappin and our accompanist tonight, Cantor Lappin. I want to take this time and recognize that we are still collecting hygiene kits for our drive for the homeless stand down. We are collecting up until January 22nd, so we have a couple more days, and you can help those in need by donating travel-sized toiletry items. Items for donation can be placed in the collection bin at the temple entrance. It's those kinds of items that you'd pick up at a hotel, a stay at a hotel. I know I have a whole bunch of them in my home that do not go anywhere and just end up taking space. So this way we could use them for good. And then on Sunday, January 29th at 11:30 a.m., you can join together with other congregants to assemble the donations into hygiene kits to be distributed at the homeless stand down. We also have a Simchat Shabbat tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow at 11 a.m., open to families with kids up to 5 years old. Come, join with us, sing, pray, dance, nosh. Nosh might be more important than any of that. But please join with us.
I like that. It feels like a movie. Sing, pray, dance.
Nosh.
Eat, pray, love.
Nosh.
Nosh, pray. Okay. In a couple of weeks, we are going to have our member and the head of the ADL, James Pash, who will be joining us to speak about the rampant anti-Semitism in our midst. So we invite you to join us for that on that special evening. Stay tuned for very exciting Purim plans, which are coming into formation, opportunities for our K through 6, K through 12 kids, but also for our adults, different opportunities to join in the joy of Purim. All right. Anything else you want to add?
I just want to throw out, in case you've wanted, explored, thought about coming to Israel, we're planning a congregational trip at the end of December of this year. Our website for the itinerary and the pricing, if you're interested, you can see it in your email, in your latest email connections that you received, or come email me, email Ellie, and come on this really once-in-a-lifetime trip opportunity.
All generations.
All generations.
Yeah.
Anyone of all ages is welcome.
Fantastic. And you better like cute little kids like Judah and Orly, so they're going to be coming as well.
They're coming.
Fantastic. Okay, Kiddush Motzi.
Please join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi
All right.
For the closing song,
Yeah.
It's not what we originally planned. I was very moved by your words, Rabbi Caruso, and I know you're going on a journey to California on Sunday. And this is a melodic, this is a gift for you, but this is a melodic setting for the words that you taught us from Lev Tahor. Lev Tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon hadesh bekirbi al tashlicheni מלפניך ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים ורוח נכון חדש בקרבי אל תשליכני מלפניך ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 לי
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
עושה שלום שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמן עושה שלום שלום במרומיו
Please join us for Oneg Shabbat, social hall.
ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן ועל כל ישראל